good people, how you doing? David Taub here, co-creator of NextLevelGuitar.com. Hope all is going well, and I hope your guitar and musical journeys are going famously. I've been getting a lot of emails from students and viewers basically saying they need some help with their soloing, that they're trying to just assemble some licks, and it just sounds like scales, and it's just kind of jumbled together, and there's really not a lot of musical sense, and it's not sounding as good as they want. So I thought I'd put together an easy video lesson on basic kind of licks that we can kind of get to sound really good. They're really easy to play, but there's so much that you can do with it. So not only in this lesson will I show you lots of fun licks that are easy to build from some scales, but also, you know, how to practice the licks and how to kind of turn them around, put your own spin on them, and more importantly, how to put them in a musical situation, right? Because learning just licks by themselves, what good is that? You learn 5, 10 licks. You have a pocket full of licks. You want to learn how to apply them, how to use them musically, how to weave them into a solo, connect them to other licks, right? Over what chords do they work, in what keys? We're playing over a jam track, and jam tracks are an essential tool for the practicing guitars to hone their skills and to take what they're learning, putting it in a musical context, right? Because if you're just playing a lick, you know, it's a lot different than if you're playing it within a certain rhythm and you're playing it over certain chords and you're playing it in a certain timing, right? And you want to make it sound good in a musical context. So that's why practicing what you're learning over jam tracks is so essential. And the jam track we're playing over today is just a basic 2-chord change in the key of E minor. It's just an E minor to a B minor. That's it, right? You want to pick jam tracks that, you know, have simple chords and just a couple of them because it's easy to weave a solo in right over that. You want to keep it simple at first. Scales are the building blocks, right, to our licks. And in this particular instance, we're in the key of E minor. As soon as you see that, 95% of the time you could use E minor pentatonic or E blues over all the chords, you know, no problem. So you can use that E minor pentatonic scale, but you can also use the E natural minor scale, and that's just adding 2 notes to the minor pentatonic scale. It's really easy, and you get those beautiful half steps in there. So at the 12th fret, right, you might use that E minor pentatonic scale. Or E blues scale. Or you could try the E minor pentatonic and blues expanded scale. Here's that E natural minor scale, starting on that E note, 12th fret. Now I'm just playing these in the 12th position here, but obviously you want to learn the scale over the entire neck, right? And the notes in that E natural minor scale, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, right? Just one accidental F sharp. Now when you're soloing, of course, the big thing is not just the notes that you're playing, right? It's how you play them, you know, what you're doing with the notes, taking the notes and doing musically interesting things, how you're playing the notes. That's really, really critical. Otherwise, if you're just playing the scale up and back, it'll just sound too stiff. It'll just sound like a scale. The other thing too is, if you noticed in the beginning of the solo, I was timing when the chords change and I was landing on certain notes as the chords change. And that's very, very important because you make really strong solo statements. Because remember, when you're playing this diatonic 7-note scale, or you're playing the minor pentatonic, the 5-note scale, some of those notes are going to sound good, but some of them might sound even better. You know, especially the notes that make up the chords or the chord tones. So just keep that in mind, the chord tones. An E minor chord has the notes E, right? Has your 5th, which is a B, and has the G, which is your flat 3rd. And in the B minor chord, you have your root, or 1, B. You have your 5th, which is your F sharp. And then you also have that D, your flat 3rd. So keep those notes in mind. Let's take those top 2 strings at first, right? So if we look at these 2 strings, the notes we were playing up here. Okay, so let's just create some licks. I'll show you some easy ways to start connecting things together. What I was doing at the beginning of the video is I created this little motif that if I was to play the solo longo, I'd kind of keep repeating that. Kind of very melodic. It's over the E minor chord, right? So all I'm doing there is I'm doing a string rake where I have my palm on the strings. I get that sound because I'm playing with my first finger barring the high E, B, and G at the 12th fret. And then what I do is I hammer from the 12th to the 14th with my third finger. And you get that sound. Then I go back to the 12th with my first finger. And then 12th fret on the B string. There's first finger, that's the E note, high E string, B note. Right? Notice I'm playing that B note, which is in the E minor chord. The E especially is the root. And then you slide out of it. Now we're taking just a few notes, the E, the F sharp, and the B, and we're kind of just doing some musical things with them. We're hammering on, we're doing a rake, right? We're vibrato. A lot of vibrato. And the other thing is I'm leaving lots of space. It's a nice slow jam track. The chords are moving slow. You want to leave space. And you want to practice this over jam tracks. In a minute, I'll tell you how you get this jam track, and I'll throw 5 more in for practice for free. What I did next, I slid up. And again, I'm staying on the B string, but I'm just using a few notes, but I'm using slides now to create interest, right? I'm not just playing these notes like... That's not musical, right? That's not really sounds like music. It's playing everything in the same time and in the same way. Space, vibrato. See, I'm holding the notes for a while, mixing up the time, and that's how you're creating interest. So that lick was, all I did was I slid up to the 12th fret, hammer to the 13th, pull to the 12th, hammer to the 13th, and slid to the 15th with vibrato. Right, that time I picked the 13. You get to hammer, pick it, whatever you want. Hit it twice. All those little nuances, right? It's the nuances. Remember, it's not just the notes, how we're playing them. So, and this is all over the E minor chord. Keep that in mind. It's so important, the relationship between chords and scales, and what scales you like over what chords. So this is in the back of your mind. Always know the chords. And what I did next was this. After I held that D note. Okay, so that might seem like a real simple thing, but there's a lot of nuance there. I played the same note, but I played it differently. I played the G string at the 14th fret, and then I quickly slid from the 12th to the 14th fret on the G string with my first finger. And vibrato, and that just gives it that little difference in sound. Right? Again, I'm not doing a lot. I'm not using a lot of notes, but it's how I'm playing them and the feel and the nuance, and that's what's going to really make your leads sing. Now, the next two things I did, again, is I just played those two notes, but I played them in a little different way. I'm playing on the G string, that 12th and 11th fret, that G and the F sharp note. That's very important. I'll tell you why in a minute. But what I did was, I used these long slides where I came way out of the scale and just grab anything. It doesn't matter because you're moving so quick, ear won't pick up the dissonance. But you pick up that cool sounding slide. But here's the kicker. Remember I said to keep in mind when the chords change? Because we might want to pick certain notes out. Notice the chords change. The B minor, right when I go to that F sharp note. And that's important because that F sharp is that very strong fifth, right? In a B minor chord, remember? You have that F sharp note. And what I did was I played the F sharp note as the chords changed. And then I went right to the B note. So that's really important because there's such strong notes in that chord, and that's why it sounds so strong at that particular point in the solo. I have that in my mind when that those chords are going to change, so I know I want to land on that strong tone. I'm not saying you have to, but it's a good choice because those notes are so strong, right? And if you want to get this exact same jam track, this E minor to B minor kind of, you know, Pink Floyd-esque kind of sounding psychedelic track, click on the link in the description box below. I'll send you my jam track coach. 6 killer sounding jam tracks that are really fun to play over. They're wide open, including this track. But the kicker is I'll send you 2 ebooks with that. And in the first ebook, I call it my Jam Track Coach. I go over each of the tracks and I tell you what you can, what scales would work and why. I tell you the chords that are in the track. A lot of that is often left out of a lot of instructionals. I tell you the chords, what scales you might want to try, why they work. See, we're building your lick vocabulary and your musical understanding of what works over what and why. And, you know, obviously you want to put your own spin on it. And if you don't know a lot of those scales, I diagram them out in the second ebook, the scales ebook. So it's a really good package. So put that jam track on and just get lost in it. But as you're listening to it, you know, listen for that E minor chord, and then when it changes, you know, just play it a couple times and notice when they change. Have that in the back of your mind, and then start fooling around with your landing notes, even if you're just using this, right? That very basic natural minor scale. And those are the hip notes I like are that F sharp, right? Because it's so strong in the B minor chord, but it's also the 9th or 2nd in the E minor chord. And it sounds really good, like when I was doing those bends. That's a great bend. I love doing that where I'm playing rake, 12th fret, 14th fret, 15th fret, back to the 14th, but I bend it a half step. That's a winner. Then you can release it and vibrato it. Then I go like 12th fret, high E, and there's my B note. That B note is strong over both chords, right? Obviously, it's the root note in the B minor, and it's in the E minor chord. Spend time knowing, you know, the chords and the notes in those chords. It makes such a big difference. Now, eventually your ear will take you to those notes because you'll be like, wow, I really like the sound of that. I really like the sound of that. So your ear is going to take you there, but at first it's a good exercise. Just to give you a couple more lick ideas, just on the B string. That's a really cool lick. All I'm doing there is, and anyone could do these. These are easy and fun and sound really good, right? 12th fret, 13th fret, this is all on the B string, 15th fret, back to 13th, back to 12th, but when I get back to 12, half step bend with vibrato, I'm bending it to the 13th. Make sure you check your bend, make sure you're not over or under bending it. And vibrato. Here's another lick based off of the other one I was doing. Right? You could repeat it. Right? There's a lot of different variations. Again, really simple, easy. They string together so well. You can almost hear the chords changing under the lead notes because now your ear is getting dialed into that, right? I'm outlining the chords with the notes that I'm playing. You want to do some cool string bending to throw in there? A lick like that. I'm bending the B string. I'm bending that 15th fret up to the E note, the 17th fret. Sounds great over the E minor chord. And now when I let it down, I'm pulling off to the 12th on the B. And then I bend it back up. Release it. Bend it up again. I'll do it slow. And then vibrato it so you get licks like that. So you can see the power in what we're doing here. Very easy licks, taking our time with them, leaving lots of space, and using these devices and techniques, string bending, hammer-ons, pull-ons, slides, creating nuance, and taking the notes and doing musically interesting things with them in a musical context, over the jam tracks. That's how you want to practice this. Just get lost in that track and really start listening. It's so important to develop your ear as a musician, as a guitar player. One of the most critical things you could do, I always tell my students that, develop your ear, because you'll hear these notes and these chords, your ear will start taking you to them, and then you'll start playing them. A lot of times, slow down. Don't play as many notes. Try not to play just a few notes and make them sound good. If you have any questions, put your questions below, or you can email them to me at nextlevelguitar@yahoo.com. I do regular Q&A videos where I answer viewer questions, which a lot of people send in killer questions that I'm sure everybody's wondering about. So I do Q&A. So be sure to watch those videos. Subscribe to the channel. That's really important because you'll know when those videos come out, and lots of our other content. It really helps us keep the content coming when you subscribe or when you like the video or share it. Right? Thank you so much for doing that. Don't forget, get those jam tracks. Click on that link. I'm David Taub with Next Level Guitar. Thank you so much for your support over the years. So appreciated. Keep putting those guitars in your hands every day. Stay positive, and remember, your guitar playing is an evolution. Take care and rock out.